Welcome to the Amalgam Hour, the movie and comic podcast. I'm Robin.
And I'm Dan.
Today we're actually not discussing a movie or a comic. Technically, we're discussing this comic publisher. Because you're probably just watching a podcast now, but that's what we want to be, innit? Currently, we're just making free content. So we're putting podcasts on YouTube, where you're probably watching this. And on Instagram, we upload a lot of art. And the Twitch. We currently just stream games, but later on we'll discuss all these social media aspects in depth and what we plan to do. Because, Dan, you will agree, this is a painstaking process. Because we act like this is $1 million company, and it's not worth 15 pence. But we will soon actually sell stuff, because in the next year, we'll be setting up an online store to sell digital comics. They may be monthly, bi-monthly, and that sets us from the rest, doesn't it? Because usually people will just put a graphic novel out a year. We'll be putting monthly books. Currently, the plan is to do just an anthology. And this is an exclusive VIP video, because this is the first time anyone's heard about this. It's going to be called Infernum Fears. And every issue will be a different story, and some issues will be collections of small horror stories. They can be thriller, horror, monster-themed, paranormal themed. I actually have one idea for a paranormal romance book, but it's still going on Infernum Fears. And currently, I'm working on Pain of Mirror, which is going to be issue 1. It's about grief, mortality, and guilt in a very abstract way, which is fun to draw, not fun to think about, but yeah. And because we've discussed this a lot, haven't we, Dan, whether we're going to be doing graphic novel versions. For a while, we won't be printing the books except from on Indie Planet. I believe it's Indie Planet, and it's a partner to Kablam. So eventually we'll have our books available there to be printed off, but that won't be coming through us. That'll be going through Kablam. But then we do want to, at the end of years, maybe do a graphic novel version of all the stories, because we know graphic novels sell better than single issues. And it's a lot of experimentation to see whether we will be doing single issues, or from, let's say, 5 years from now, we'll just be doing graphic novels because they sell better. And it's a business, it's about money, but you know me, Dan, I have so many stories to tell. I pitch Dan a comic every other week. And by I say every other week, I mean every time we play Xbox, which is true.
Yeah.
So for a while, it will just be an anthology story, because very quick, simple, short stories to tell. But I do want to be experimental in both story and art. So I've got ideas for a comic entirely out of children's drawings. I've got a comic idea where it's photography with abstract art over it. And then experimental storylines, like I said, guilt, etc. Just every storyline we think of. We're currently thinking of a Scooby-Doo horror story. But if Warner Brothers asked, it's not Scooby-Doo. So we have lots of Infernum Fears storylines we can do, which will be sold. Currently, we're thinking between £2.50 for the price, £2.50 for British currency, and then we may lower that price depending. But we're still in the working phase, and we're still scribbling stuff on whiteboards and sketchbooks.
Yeah, nothing's certain yet.
Yeah, 100%. But we know we're doing this. That's the one thing that's certain. This is coming out. And then I have both ideas for Infernum Fear stories, so horror anthology short stories, and long-running comics. So like a Spider-Man, like a Batman, that could have hundreds of issues behind it. Obviously, we won't be as cheap and neglectful to the fans as DC and Marvel do. That's the Infernum promise. Trust me. Yeah.
That's our
That's
what is
our
it called? Our
guarantee.
unique selling point.
Yeah. We're not a big
We're
brand
not
who's a
cheapskates.
penis. Yeah. And just to come back to the Infernum Fears, after a while, it may just be that every year we'll be doing a long-running story about one character, and at the end of the year, a small book of Infernum Fears will come out, you know? Just because I've always coming up with ideas. I have at least a new comic idea once a month. So I've got 100 years of comic storytelling, unless I die. Which will be fun, which will add to the horror aesthetic, you know? But then, yes, we do have ideas for long-running stories like Mac Fox. Mac Fox is going to be about a serial killer investigator who is currently being controlled by his Scotland Yard boss to become anonymous, and it deals with his mental health and how he's almost leeching off of these serial killers to find others. And his good relationship story with him and his friend. And it ties in. He is the main character of Infernum. If you imagine the logo could be replaced with Infernum and just be his face. Because he's the Spider-Man to Marvel, he's the Batman for DC. He's the Trapper to Dead by Daylight. There you go. So he's going to appear in a lot of the stuff, including I Have No Face, which is currently in the writing process of being a... how would you describe it? It's very indie, this book. It's going to be about a boy dealing with his mental illness and how that leads him to becoming a serial killer who believes he's a vigilante. All while dealing with his schizophrenic thoughts of believing he is a guardian for a god. He's doing God's work in his mind, which is another story. Then we've got Reflection, which is another... How to describe it would be if I could talk to a comic character. So it's a guy who believes he's talking to the writer of his universe, and he then goes on a vigilante adventure, all while gaining cosmic powers. So, Dan, does that sound like anything you've read? That doesn't sound like Spider-Man to me.
No, that's very unique. Very unique.
Yeah,
A unique selling point.
he's being paid to say that.
I'm totally not reading a script.
Yeah, and then... Actually, I'll discuss Hot Pot Pleasure in a minute, which will be another comic. And all these comics will come out monthly, hopefully. Or they'll come out in graphic novel selections, because Mac Fox will be a long-running story for years. I Have No Face will be 1 to 2 years of comics. Reflection will be 1 year. So it's very... We'll have short comics you can read, long ones, anthology. So we're putting... What's the term? I was about to say we're putting all of our fingers in the soup, but that's not the bloody term.
Really, I don't even know what you're trying to go for there.
Or we're doing everything, okay? And
Yeah.
all of our books will be available online, physical through Kablam, and on Comixology. Unfortunately, due to Comixology's profit take, they will be for much higher on Comixology. So we suggest, if you're from the future listening to this now, go to hopefully infernumcomics.com and buy them there. So we have a plan for that, and we will maybe want to print off our own comics, maybe have Kickstarters for them. That's very far ahead. And I would love to get like merchandise of characters, but like we're definitely going to have a Teespring. That'll be up in a couple of months, hopefully, with a bunch of shirt designs, which I think we already have 3 designed. One for Infernum, one for Mac Fox. No, Connor, I Have No Face. And then the Amalgam Hour podcast. So we've already got designs for merch. But I would love... We have big plans. So we have like action figure hopes. We have like Funko Pops. I would love that. But that's literally a...
Way down the line.
Yeah. That's my teenager mind going, I want everything. I want it all. But yeah, so the store will be our main website. That's where you go to get all of our comics. You'll also get... We're thinking of doing a webcomic on there as well for free. Just one page a week. Just to see how that does, experimental-wise, to see if that brings in a new audience. And that will, of course, be horror-based. I believe it's going to be about a serial killer who is using documentaries about serial killers as their plan. And then you bring in Mark Fox and the detective work. Fun. Okay? This is going to be a universe. And I know it sounds stupid being like the Infernum universe, because there's nothing of it yet, you know? But Mark Fox will be the basis of this. On the website itself as well, it will have articles, typically linking to the comic industry itself. Currently, the articles we have are abstract art and whether it belongs in a comic book medium. If the comic industry is failing or not, which is a big part of what I like to know about in the industry, because everyone says it's failing. I don't believe it is, but that's a podcast discussion for another time. A video about an article about the different eras of comics, and Dan here will be all the analytics work he does on Marvel and DC for business discussions, market research, probably make articles out of. And that's, as a business mindset, that's to get people onto the website itself. But that's also free information to give away. There will also be a store on there, where we'll sell article bundles with exclusive articles in it and our own personal thoughts. We'll be selling colouring pages. So if I do a comic and I love a page, we'll put a bundle of them all together. All HD, high resolution, colourless. Just so you can print them off, or digital work, just if anyone would like that. And then later on, this is where the big ideas come in, motion comics selling on there as well. So motion comics, audio books of the comics. So we have lots of ideas how to stem from just the comic idea. Which, we've got a lot of work to do there, Dan, but hopefully...
Yeah.
Hopefully...
but this is like the 10-year plan.
Yes, this is literally 10 years. Hopefully, and not 20.
So if you're watching this video and it's 12 years old, this may have already all been done.
Yeah, go to infernumcomics.com and buy your motion comic of Mark Fox volume 127. Yeah. What else are we going to have on the website? Pretty sure that's it. On the website itself, it will have links to all of our socials everywhere you can buy the book. But we do suggest to buy the book digitally on there, because it will be the cheapest it can.
Way.
And it will be the best way for us to communicate with you as well. If there's sales, because we're definitely going to have sales like Comixology. And then,
it's like store-specific sales.
Yeah.
Just certain areas.
Speaking of social media, so that's our plan for the comic store. There's lots of space, and we're going to be... Infernum Fears, I want to be known as the experimental horror anthology. We've got ideas for 3D comics. We've got ideas for choose-your-own-adventure horror stories. Build your own character into the comic. So we've got loads of ideas and very little money or time. Speaking of money, do you like that segue? I don't.
Beautiful segue. I don't know where it's going to, but a beautiful segue.
See, he's not reading from a script, and he's definitely not paid.
No, I just lost the script.
Just between me talking about comics, you were like, I've just wandered away from me. Soon we're going to be setting up donations, because I know a lot of people in the descriptions have donations. That'll be a very minor part of Infernum, because, of course, money is to how we will survive. But it's also about making content. That's why we make this podcast. To get out our opinions, tell you about Infernum, because we're very opinionated people, and especially with me with all my pitches and rants. That's what this podcast is built up on. So, yes, speaking of money, other than the donations, in 2 weeks' time of this release date, there will be a Patreon up. For a very low price, it'll have a Discord, which will just be a lovely way to communicate with fans. We're definitely going to have a page about promoting your own work. So if you are a comic creator and you want to get people eyes on your work, there will definitely be a page there. Page for fan art, and then a page for discussions. Because we'd love to get
One of us will most likely respond to it.
Yeah, probably Dan.
Yeah, because I'm less busy.
Yeah. And then we could always be doing Q&As and stuff on there as well for Discord users. So that's why that's important. Then in the future, so this is not in 2 weeks' time, we will have exclusive clips up for another price above that. Then above that will be behind the scenes, scripts, free comics, free short stories, HD downloadable versions of certain comics. So that'll be quite for an affordable price. And it'll be worth it because you'll get to see behind the scenes of this, especially if you're an indie creator. It could be really helpful to see, our process. But then, this is the one that is starting in 2 weeks. We'll be doing commentary videos. So we're thinking between £15 to £20. 4 times a month, you'll be getting a movie commentary between me and Dan. And we don't watch films to enjoy them. We watch films to make fun of them, which is what we've always done,
Yes.
which is why I can't wait for Spider-Man 3. That commentary is going to be great.
Spider-Man 3. Because
No.
the first Spider-Man 3
is a beauty. Yeah. So in 2 weeks' time, we will actually be having our first commentary up, and it will be of the first Iron Man film. Because for the next, 23-ish weeks?
Or all the way up to the end of August, pretty much.
Yeah. We're going to commentate over the entire MCU, preparing for a podcast video where we rank the entire MCU. Which hopefully
so if you don't like us taking the piss out of the MCU, don't watch it.
Yes. Can't wait to watch Captain Marvel with you, Dan.
Oh, I can't wait.
Opinionated, as I just said. So
Yes.
that'll be preparing for a
we
video.
do like the franchise.
Yeah,
by the way.
that is true. We'll be preparing for an entire MCU ranking video, which hopefully will include Black Widow in that video. We'll do a Black Widow review, of course. But that'll be it. And then,
when it eventually gets released.
This is the comic I stopped myself from speaking about earlier. For a very high price, we are thinking of doing a not safe for work comic. So, nudity, violence, nudity again.
Disgusting people out there.
Yeah. Sexual stuff. But I want it to be a not safe for work comic that still has a story. So it's going to be a mystery set in a brothel above a Chinese restaurant. That's where the name comes from, Hot Pot Pleasure. Currently working... All of this is work in progress, by the way. This is just the 10-year plan for Infernum Comics. And that'll be it for the Patreon. We're currently still thinking of more ideas. That's it. And now this is where we get onto the social medias. Because currently this week, we have made a lot of social medias now. We've got the YouTube, which you're listening to this on, which it will have 3 types of videos to begin with. This is still the 5-year, 10-year plan. Movie and comic podcast, obviously Infernum's Amalgam Hour, what you're listening to right now. We'll have art analysis, where it'll be just me discussing a certain artist or a certain comic that inspires, pushes the boat, or maybe is not good enough for mainstream comic work. Talking to you, Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool. He's not watching, he doesn't care. And then this is my personal series, where it'll be the most ranty, called Bad Issues. It's a play on back issues, both the comic pop show and the terminology for comics, where I will discuss every episode a different problem with the comic industry, which hopefully Infernum never falls into. So it's literally, it'll be market analysis, etc., talking about all the problems and how to solve them and how not to fall into the trap of failing. Yeah. And then currently for the podcast, the three main things, like, how to put it, genres of video we'll be doing will be pitching comic ideas and movies and shows, because next week, preparing for The Falcon and Winter Soldier, we'll be doing a video about Disney Plus show pitches, which will probably be a lot of fun. And then the other type of style we'll be doing will be reviewing movies and entire franchises. And every movie we review or franchise will be up on our Patreon commentary page, because we have plans to commentate over the entire MCU, the X-Men franchise, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Final Destination, Hellraiser,
Star Wars, don't forget about
Star Wars, yeah.
Franchise.
Ugh, yeah. I have to watch all the Star Wars, because then we're going to do videos about them, of course. Great, can't wait to watch Jar Jar Binks.
You quoted enough.
That's true. So that's the YouTube aspect. The Instagram will have comic art, a lot of concept art, character designs, but we'll also have behind the scenes of what I'm working on currently. You'll get to see comic pages months before they're released, where in all the captions I'll tell you about a bit about the comic, where to get it, a synopsis, and it is the best way to stay up to date. So currently, look at on your screen right now, you can see the Instagram Infernum_Comics. There's also a link in the description. And it's the best way to stay up to date, because we update our stories daily to tell people what we're doing, any videos that go up, any new social medias, any comics we're working on. So it's the best way. Then Twitter is actually the best way to contact us informally. Just at us, post us a question, we'll answer it. And then Twitch, Dan. This is your aspect of Infernum, other than the business side. What will we be doing on Twitch?
Well, on the Twitch is pretty much just us playing games. It's mainly Dead by Daylight at the moment.
Yeah. Which is our...
Just play on there.
It is our least favourite horror game.
We hate every minute of it, okay? But we're addicted and might as well do something with it.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's pretty much just going to be Dead by Daylight streaming. Just no real aim for it. Just us chatting, just chilling, playing the game.
Yeah, so if you want to join in,
when we get very angry at Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, it's a great way to ask questions to us live, interact with us, and if you play Dead by Daylight and you're at least rank 5, you can just play with us, because we only ever do
That's
it.
not even me.
Yeah, that's true. Rank 7. Because we only ever play in a duo, don't we? We never typically have a full survive with friends. So join us there.
But every now and then.
In the future, when I work on comics a lot and have a lot of spare time to do so, I will be streaming me live drawing the comic page, where we can discuss with each other what's happening on the page, my art processes, etc. This is actually something I haven't discussed with Dan properly yet. We will also be streaming board games and stuff on there. And this is still the 5-year plan. Board games, so big fan of board games. And D&D streams a lot of the time as well. That's where they will go up. And just for your entertainment, and the D&D streams could be set in a world I've created, set in another world. It could become a comic later down the line. So there's a lot of ideas which you can only find out on the Twitch. You can see my process for it, because we believe in the next couple of years we will have an Infernum Gaming as well. So all the Twitch streams will go up there, all the D&D content will go up on there, and board game plays will go up on there. That's when we have a nice set and everything. But to jump back to the podcast from that, but first of all All of these links for the Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, we also have a Facebook and a Tumblr, soon to have a Pinterest and a Patreon, will be in the link of the description. Also, if you go onto the Instagram, you can find our Linktree link in there, which will take you to all of our social medias, everywhere we do stuff, our website, etc. So that's a great way to stay on top of what Infernum's doing. And that's our big plan. But we have huge ideas with merch, graphic novels, even trading card games we've discussed. Because I've got so many ideas for how to build off of Infernum. Because Infernum will be a brand, not just a business. It'll be, this is it. This is an Infernum action figure, Infernum trading card, whatever. We also have plans to have businesses under the name of Infernum, technically like our Infernum's Amalgam Hour, but we have ideas for a webcomic advertiser and a place to sell webcomics or digital comics, because currently I'm having a huge problem with Comixology and their prices, mostly due to the Amazon agreement over buying them. So that's a place for the future, because we always want to support indie creators because we are them, you know? Like currently, as of recording this, 2 people know about the comics, which hopefully
me and you.
But Comixology won't help, so creating another place to put comics will always help the industry and boost it up, because currently Marvel and DC are failing at that. So we want to become not as big as them, because those are huge 100-year-old businesses. But we want to
people who were there are already dead.
Yeah. We want to become an indie comic publisher that is respectable and is a lot about the community as well. That's why we have so many social medias to contact us with.
It will be mainly me involved if you contact us.
Yeah,
because
that
I'm
is
not
true.
the drawing guy.
Yeah. And then
Draw.
That's pretty much the 5-year plan. The couple of months plan is, if you want to know what podcast we're going to be doing, next week, like we discussed, will be the Disney Plus pitch video. After that, we will also be discussing Marvel street level events, because there's not a lot of them. And stay tuned in that one, because at the end, I will be pitching several to Dan. Typically to do with Moon Knight, because he's my boy.
Big Moon Knight fan.
Yeah, after that, we'll be discussing our favourite horrors. Just to give you a bit of a hint, Silence of the Lambs will be a main feature in that video. Because as
You're a big Hannibal fan.
Big Hannibal show lover, and that is an entire podcast video in with itself. After the horror video, we will be doing favourite Spider-Man stories. After that, like in our Disney Plus show pitches, we will be pitching the future of the MCU and what we would like to see. And after that, which is our final one we've thought of, is pitching the Amalgam universe. If you don't know, the Amalgam comic universe was when Marvel and DC did a crossover and merged characters. And that's actually where we get our names from. The Amalgam Hour, it's the movie and comic podcast coming together, but it's also 2 people coming together, and eventually we will both have avatars which symbolize our favorite characters from both Marvel and DC. So I hope you enjoy the content we're going to be making, and that's pretty much it.
We do take recommendations as well, because we are not geniuses.
Yeah, we're not.
We do run out of ideas.
That's a big thing I want to say. We are not geniuses. We just have a plan, and this is what, like, a plan that's taken me like 5 years to come through.
Yeah.
Because
If there's a
before,
game you want me to play on the Twitch, just let me know. If there's a podcast,
yeah,
just
because
chuck it in the comments section.
you own a lot more
Any
games
film
than
you
me.
want a commentary of.
Yeah, you own a lot more games than me, which
I will
feels good about.
probably be streaming the Hawkeye DLC next week for the Avengers.
Oh
game.
yeah, forgot the Avengers. Everyone forgot that game.
Yeah, I know, but it's just something to do with it.
Yeah. Okay, please follow us on all of our social medias to really support us and get the name out for Infernum. Link in description again. But thank you for listening, and this has been the Amalgam Hour podcast.